Coach, how daunting is the challenge of working in so many new guys, particularly guys that weren't even here in spring ball?
Well, it's a challenge, and I think you'll get that from any coach you ask across the country, which that's college football now. Bringing in guys after spring with the transfer portal, but summer rules have changed some, so we can get our hands on them a little more than we used to in the past. So that's helped, but that just makes camp, that much bigger. August camp, training camp, and it's definitely something you want to see. Early on, we talked about that as the offensive staff a couple days ago. There's a couple guys, in these first 5 to 10 days that you got to make some decisions on and kind of see where they're going to fall in the pecking order. But it's something we put a lot of thought into, with how we practice and how we lay out the schedule, in these first 5 to 10 practices.
You kind of shared the wealth running back wise in the spring. I saw Kiner a week ago. He looks pretty streamlined and all that. Would you like to see an alpha kind of take over that position, or is it going to be by committee?
You would if you have one. And Corey's definitely a guy, that's got some experience in the past. But there are a lot of guys in that room, just like you said, and they all have talent. It's just some of it's unknown to us. So again, they're going to kind of fall in line to, that first 5 to 10 days during camp is going to be huge for them to see if anybody can separate themselves. But if it is by committee, we have no problem with that. Running back's a tough position, a lot of physical, got to have a lot of physicality. And so you need several guys, that you can count on. So hopefully we'll have, 3, 4, 5 guys that we can trust in that room. And I think we do.
You've been coaching for a long time. Have you ever been in a situation where potentially 10 of 11 new starters and probably 20, 25 different names that are possible for those open spots?
No, I don't think I have. This may be the first time. But just going back, to spring ball and over the summer, these guys, as a group overall, they have all worked extremely hard. They're all very coachable and doing exactly what we asked them to do. And obviously that's something you need to see. They're coachable and they want to be good. But again, that just goes back to what I was saying early on, man. These first 5 to 10 practices are going to be extremely important. But we got a taste of it, early on with some of those guys, what they can and what they cannot do.
Would you be honest with us if they had a bad summer? If those guys they didn't bring it, nobody.
Probably not. But I'm telling you, this group, it seems like they all got a chip on their shoulder, which they want to be good and work, and so it's going extremely well. But probably not.
What sets Emory Jones apart for you?
Experience. Number one. He's got a ton of experience. He's been around a long time. He's obviously the dual threat, that we're looking for. Coach Satterfield and myself, throughout our careers have had tons of success with dual threat guys. And now you can take it a step further. And everybody says they want the dual threat quarterback. We want the triple threat, the guy that can beat you with his arm, with his legs, and then with his mind. And, that was something, Emory learning the offense, learning how we operate and do things as a staff. That's something he spent a lot of time on in the spring and summer. And, he's still learning the playbook and getting comfortable with it, but he's got a great football IQ. And once he becomes, knows it like the back of his hand, I think he will be that triple threat guy.
It seemed like Brady Drogosh impressed a lot of people. What do you want to see out of him in higher ground?
Just he needs reps. Tons of talent there. Again, he's in that mold of the kind of guy that we like. We just need to get him practice reps, reps going against our defense, scrimmage reps, throw him in the fire to see if he can produce in those situations.
This is the wide receiver room that is only returning one
Yeah.
starter from a season ago. You bring in guys like Donovan, D,
Yeah.
a couple others there, and then you make that transition of Evan. Just talk about that wide receiver room a little bit, and where does Evan stand in that wide receiver room?
Again, just like the rest of the team, hard workers, probably the most coachable receiver group I've ever been around from top to bottom. Like you said, one guy with some experience here, returning starter, and Chris Scott. And but if you go right down the list, you look at D. Wiggins, who came over from Louisville. You look at Braden Smith. They understand the offense. They've been in it before, so that's helped them along. And both of them have had very good off seasons. You look at a Donovan Ollie, a guy with experience. We bring in a couple guys. Xavier Henderson from Florida led Florida in catches last year. In the SEC, so a ton of experience there. Aaron Turner, I think he's got 80 or 90 career catches. So they've been a guy that's been guys that have been in the fire before, and they know what playing in big time football is all about. So they've been nothing but good. And then you look at the guys we had going through spring, some of the younger guys. To a man, every one of them have improved tremendously. Look at a Barry Jackson that comes in here. And I think we made mention of it back during spring, from practice 1 to practice 15. He was probably the most improved guy. Well, he's carried that over into summer. Leslie Ando, Sterling Burkhalter is another guy that he's probably improved. He had a good spring, but he's probably improved the most over the course of the summer than anybody in that room. So it was kind of a questionable position for us, when we first got here. But things are trending in the right direction in that room, and those guys have worked their tails off in the off season.
Offensive line is a position that comes into this season with somewhat unknown.
Yeah.
How much do you lean on the running game with those unknowns, and what has their progression been like?
Well, that's part of what we believe in as a staff. To win championships, you got to be able to run the football. And you got to be able to run the football when you want to run it. So it's going to be a huge part. Now, just looking through the depth chart, going back to spring and summer, there's probably 7 or 8 guys that you kind of trust, right now. Obviously, they may need to be a couple more step up. But there's probably a group of 7 right now that we feel pretty good about. And again, camp, first 5, go back to the first 5 to 10 days again, first 5 to 10 practices. That is going to be as a big a time for that group as any.